Welcome to the Best Mom Product Show, where mompreneurs share their adventures in business. I'm your host, Rachel Olson. In today's episode, we'll learn how Mary Juetten founded and became CEO of TrakLight, an online consulting software tool that allows inventors, creators, and businesses to identify intellectual property and provides a plan to secure that IP at a fraction of the cost would have been to pay in-person providers. Oh my gosh, that was a mouthful. Did I say that right, Mary?
I think you did. Very good.
Okay, thanks. So I first met Mary at the Women 2.0 conference in early 2013. In further discussions, I learned that one of her biggest challenges in starting her business was developing the software. And I know that that's a lot of challenges that women entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs in general face. So wanted to talk to Mary a little bit more about her journey with that, and dive also into some of the contests that she's won and all of those good moments. So Mary, maybe before we dive into hiring a developer and all the right and wrong things that happened to you, can you provide maybe a few examples on what TrakLight does and how it's been applied to give people a better idea of exactly what it is?
Okay, so the whole idea of TrakLight was when I was in law school, I heard all these horror stories about people losing their intellectual property, not because they were in a huge company or anything, but because they didn't know a few simple things about it. So, for example, let's say you're starting a company, even your own company. You're starting up this company that's going to interview people, and you don't realize that even though you don't have necessarily a product like a tangible, you're building something, or you don't have a technology, people think, oh, I don't have any intellectual property because I don't have a patent, or I don't have, I don't really have anything that's novel or new, but you do have intellectual property. Everybody does. So what we did is created this tool that allows people to capture or identify and discover what they might have, and then we give them the steps, which include doing things yourself, because there's a lot of things that you can just keep some things secret, and it doesn't require thousands of dollars of attorney bills. So people get tips from using our software. You get tips on how to hire people and to make sure, certain things that you need to make sure that those people, if they're working for you, that you actually own what they create. Or like with this interview, that I will sign something saying that you're allowed to use it. You'd be surprised how many people, it's very sad, how many people either create something only to find out that the company that is their day job actually owns it, or they pay somebody to develop, like, for example, software for them, and then find out that they actually don't own the rights to that software. So those are some of the ways that TrakLight can help you. Our mission is to educate and empower, especially startups and inventors around intellectual property. So we take the scary out of intellectual property, and it's set up to be very easy to use and friendly to those people who don't have law degrees.
Yeah, no, great. And that's interesting because you actually did get a law degree. Is that right?
I do have a law degree. So the disclaimer is I'm not a practicing attorney. I decided to go start up TrakLight, and I work for another software company. Tried to do two things at once. That's one of my pieces of advice. Don't do that. I decided not to write the bar because I was really intrigued with the whole startup market.
Okay, interesting. So let's talk a little bit about this. You started TrakLight about 2.5 years ago in February 2011. And today you're a pretty thriving, successful small business startup. And you've won lots of contests and awards and so forth. So let's dive into a little bit about building your brand and getting recognized in that short period of time. So I think I have written down here, you won the grand prize in the Start Small, Win Big Success Magazine contest, and we're a finalist in the Arizona Tech Council Governor's Celebration of Innovation Winners. So maybe can you talk about, and you've been, I think it was an Entrepreneur magazine and other things, how important is it to be in one of these contests or to be recognized? What made you decide to be in it, and what were the steps that you took to get recognized?
So overall, I think my overall advice to anybody is you've just got to put yourself out there. And I have a motto where I try to do something that is a little scary to me every day. And when I started my business, I tried to do it once a week. And I think, I started moving, and scary includes reaching out to people that you don't necessarily know on LinkedIn, or, asking somebody to do you a favor. But it really all started with, I think if you start developing really good content or, researching or helping others in your field, kind of the idea of doing good, and then you will end up doing well. And with the contest, the success contest, we entered, well, actually, it would have been almost I at that point, entered in 2012, and I found it a really interesting process. It was one of the things that I was going to do that was outside my comfort zone, because you had to put all this stuff on social media, which at that time I was really not comfortable with the whole Twitter and Facebook. So I learned a lot the first year. I met people online. So it was really interesting to see other people's views across the U.S. And then last year, in January, I got a note from the success people saying, hey, you were a great participant last year. I hope you're going to try again this year. So I did it, and I really found that it was very helpful in making me take that step to actually bring other people into the business on the marketing and the sales side. And the last piece of it was you had to write this essay, and I was so tired. The essay was due the next day, and I just came home and I sat down with a lovely glass of wine and just kind of put it all out there. I'd been at a conference where it's Infusionsoft software. They have InfusionCon. So I was pretty pumped up about all the possibilities of what we could do. So I just put it all out there on the line, kind of drew a line in the sand in the sense of saying we're going to have 1,000 customers next year and hit $1 million in revenue next year. So it was pretty out there. And I think that really helped. So, I mean, we were first announced as a finalist, which is an honor in itself. And then when we won, it makes a huge difference being featured in these magazines. It gives you that sense of legitimacy as a small business. And so it's been really great. And actually, I'm going to meet JJ Ramberg in a couple of weeks and see the taping of her show. So that's a really fun thing. But anybody can do it. It's just putting yourself out there.
Right. No, that's great.
Definitely.
That's great advice. So are you doing all of this yourself? I know you have a team of employees that you work with, or contractors.
Well, they're actually a combination of some contractors and some business partners, and I certainly did not do this myself. I did write that little success piece myself, but it was all about how I finally realized I can't do everything myself, especially in the sales and marketing area. My background is I have an accounting background, I have a law background. All my online shopping does not count as as a marketing background. So when I brought on Jill Howard-Allen and Megan Needler, both joined as sweat equity partners, and we've grown. We're now 13 of us, and we have a few interns, and we're scraping by. We're bootstrapped, self-funded. We're actually in the process of going out for angel funding right now, and that will result in bringing on our first employee, which actually will be the developer who rescued us from our latest development.
Okay, okay, so let's back up to kind of what we started with, and because I feel like that's a really big story in itself. So can you talk about, nice segue too, by the way, really put me right back where I needed to be. Talk about a little bit when you were developing your software. What was the first thing you did when you just had the idea for this?
Well, when I had the idea, I started researching, of course, like, did this exist somewhere else? And then after I got past that, I had some market research done. And being the good recovering accountant that I am, I love Excel. So I have lists in Excel, but I put together kind of what I thought the report should look like and started with the end in mind, which is another thing that I think is really important with software development. So I knew what I wanted the report to look like. And then I put together all the pieces. And then I went to, various developers. And in the beginning, I had one developer who very nicely said, oh, I thought we were just going to do kind of like a big survey monkey. And this is way beyond it because it has logic for the questionnaire. They're dynamic questions. It has logic to create a report and a whole database of potential answers. And so he said, no, this is too much, which is fine. And the next group said, hey, we're going to do this. And I really like them, and I'm still, in contact with them. But they tried to do it in a certain programming language because they said it would be better, but it turned out that really wasn't their forte, that particular language.
Okay.
So I ended up with a bunch of delays and a bit of wasted money, but really it was the time delays. And after that experience, I started educating myself more. So I don't place the blame on, like it doesn't solely rest with somebody else. As if you have an idea for software and you're not technical, then it's on you to become technically educated or financially literate. Technically literate. You should be financially literate. That's a good thing all around. So then when I got with my third developer, CTO, who came in, it all seemed good for a little while. And we were able to work through this minimum viable product that we came up with just about a year ago. And working with him, I learned a lot more. And then right near the end of his tenure, I took a class from this woman, Nelly Yusuf. You don't have to edit this part. Okay. Nelly Yusupova. Sorry, Nelly. She has Tech Speak for Entrepreneurs, which is, she's out of New York. We brought her here to Phoenix, took this class. It makes you technically literate. And it also started raising a lot of red flags for me as I learned more. I started looking at our software and questioning a lot of things. And it turned out that our CTO, there were some issues. Let's just leave it at that. And we had to part ways in May, and I was left with a bit of a mess. Luckily, our current VP technology overlapped a little bit, and he was really able to help me. But I feel that if I wouldn't have taken this tech speak and educated myself, I would have been in a world of hurt. And we would have, we still lost a few more months. But when I sat down with our now VP technology, I had a much better way of saying to him, okay, how would you approach this? There's like about 5 questions that I now ask almost anybody who works with us, but especially with developers. You need to know, what is their attitude towards the importance of technology to your company? If they believe that technology is the end all to be all and that they should be set on this pedestal above the rest of your employees, just turn on your heel and walk away. And that's something I've learned the hard way. Okay. And another piece of advice is, if you're hiring, let's say you don't have a big software application to be built, but you're hiring a web developer, then treat it like a dating process. Go and have coffee with this person, see if you can communicate well with them. Then have them do a very small project. And if you're not able to evaluate that project, pay somebody that you know that can evaluate their work. It's much better to spend a couple $100 there than to hire somebody, spend thousands, and have it not work out. So,
no, great advice. Great advice.
It's a little bit traumatic, but
no, it is. It's interesting. So each time, did you have to start, other than the last time when the VP of technology overlapped with the CTO, did you have to start, like if it was a different programming language than what you wanted it in, did you have to start from scratch the next time?
Yeah, the first time we just had wireframes of a design. We didn't even go into it. So that was totally fine. The second time, yes, we had to start all over again. So I lost months. So that's why it isn't the couple $1,000 that I wasted. It was the months of time. But what we did, or what I did at the time, was I spent my time then, networking, creating content, blogging, and basically speaking wherever somebody would have me speak. And it was so that I wouldn't go crazy hovering over the developer going, is it ready yet? But that actually was a very long runway, because people are like, oh, wow, you just started this company and you won this. It's like, no, it's been years. And that's another piece of advice. Like, you can't expect these overnight results. Building these relationships takes years, and it really takes a long time. With our current VP technology, we we're able to keep what we have, but we're making a major upgrade right now to our system so that it is more API or application programming interface. I think that's
nice.
what it's for. You know, so that systems can talk to each other. That will be greatly beneficial to some of our affiliates and partners who want to use our software for their clients. So, so that's kind of taking, so we lost a few months again, but nothing compared to the middle one.
Yeah, no, let me ask you something about that. You know how you said, you know, a good question you ask when you're hiring somebody is, what's your attitude towards technology? And that's right. I mean, a lot of developers feel like they're the ones developing your product. It is the most important. So it's like, how do you determine, is it just a feeling that you get? Because how many developers would actually say like, my role is the most important in the company?
Well, it's interesting. There's one other thing that we've now started doing, which is when you're bringing in developers or when you're bringing in any business partner for that matter, what we've done is we've put into our agreements that, you know, so first you date a little bit, you do a project, and then you say, okay, yeah, we're going to kind of get married here. So you need to have these consulting agreements. If you're doing equity, you know, you don't want to end up in federal prison or state prison for security. So you go to an attorney, you get the right agreements. Make sure in there that you have what they call like a 90-day out or cliff provision, because people may tell you, yeah, technology is not the most important thing, but then you can see 90 days is a long time to work with somebody. If you see the inklings that they are acting as if that, you know, they're not part of the team or an equal member of the team, then you'll have that 90-day cliff. Because one thing that Nellie often says is hire slowly and fire fast. Like once it's gone wrong, then especially with somebody who's handling your website or your technology, once that trust is broken or there's another issue, you have to just move them out quickly. And I have like in writing from certain people rants about how all the money should go to technology. This is what's most important. But our new VP technology, when I first met with him, he said, you know what? It's okay that we're having all these problems and we can't actually get some access to some of this, because TrakLight's not about the code. Code is just code. I can redo this. I can code anything you let me know. What TrakLight's about is the brand and the awareness and the education. And basically at that point, we just won the success contest. And he said, it's about that. It's not about this. And immediately I'm thinking to myself, okay, I want to work with. and it's been excellent ever since. And it really is difficult to find people, if you haven't known them for years, it's difficult to find people that you can trust, because you're, as the inventor or the creator of whatever your business is, you're trusting somebody to create it in code. And it's a difficult thing.
You're 2.5 years down the road, maybe you finally found the engineer, other things are coming together. You know, what do you feel is a challenge for you at this point in your business?
So at this point, I mean, if I could give one piece of advice, would be to find a really good co-founder at the beginning, so then you have like somebody to kind of share these pain points with. Right now, we're in the process of raising money. And as a female entrepreneur in a tech company, and Jill, who I brought on as marketing, has now, she basically, when I traveled over the summer, I was traveling for business, she took over the whole office and just organized everybody. So when I came back, I said, okay, you know what? You're COO. So now we have, awesome. So now, yeah, so it's great. So in our business, we have the two of us. So we're going out pitching for money. And it's a challenge as a female. First of all, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but most of the women I talk to don't enjoy asking for money. It's like a strange kind of thing. And it's not like I'm asking for money for me, but in the end, that's what they're investing in. They're investing in me, they're investing in our team, and it just seems like a weird thing to do. And it's not something that I enjoy, but when you do it, it's all time consuming. It's about 80% of what I do right now. So I have a great advisory board, and one of the members said to me, okay, how much are you raising? And I said X. And then he said, okay, multiply that by 3 because you need to get enough money so that you're not doing this all the time, because you need to be focusing on your business and product, new products, product features, the creativity, building the connections, not raising money all the time. So that is definitely our pain point right now.
What is the response that you're getting so far? Are you in the process of putting together your presentations now, your pitch decks?
We put them together. We pitched 2 different angel groups here in Arizona. The first one, it was kind of a weird thing because I knew so many of the people in the room because it was here in Phoenix.
Yep.
That actually worked against me. Like, because I was flustered, which I'm not a person who normally gets flustered. I've spoken in front of a lot of people, and I swear at this point, you could wake me up out of a dead sleep, and I could give you my 30-second, my 2-minute, my 5-minute. Some days I do like to stay at home just so I don't have to talk about TrakLight at all. But when I went to the other group, which is just south of here in Tucson, Arizona, I just felt more comfortable. For whatever reason, the group seemed warmer, and I didn't know any of them except for one person who's on our advisory board was in the room. And so that went great, and we're going back next week to present to their full group, which is anywhere between 80 and 100 people. So we were just working this morning on the pitch deck, and one of the things that's really interesting is that as a female, I mean, I'm a naturally kind of expressive person, and I did get a piece of advice, don't be too, perky, and I was just like, you know what, if people don't want to invest in me for me, then don't invest in me. I can't change my personality. That's how I'm able to do things like write an email to Rocket Lawyer, get on the phone with them and say, hey, like, we're this startup, but we want to know, kid, what's your rate sheet for your pay-per-clicks? And, go approach Jason Nazar from DocStock and say, hey, can I do videos for you guys? And if I didn't have the same personality, I'd never do any of those things.
Right.
So,
good for you. Stay true to who you are, Mary.
So it was kind of funny. And I thought actually that we have a female, our business attorney, which we call kind of our outside in-house counsel.
Okay.
And so she's female. She's amazing. She has an early ventures program here. And I thought she was going to come unglued when I was getting that feedback about my personality. Because it's like, okay, no. Would you be saying that to a guy?
Right. I know. Gosh, there's so many articles on that right now. I feel like, but I think that that's going to hopefully be overcome. And I agree with you. Just stick to who you are, and you want that right fit anyways. So you don't want somebody coming in thinking you're one thing and then not. Like, that never turns out good,
No, because you're right. It's another marriage. And that's why you have to have someone really great negotiate how this is going to work, because you get 10 or 15 people putting their money together and investing in you. I don't want to have 15 phone calls a week. Right.
You have to think through what you want to manage on the outside at the end results, which it sounds like you think through that. You're good like that.
I hope so.
Well, this has been insightful. It's interesting to talk to somebody going through that pitching process. So keep me posted. Let me know. I'm sure I'll see it on the LinkedIn feed or Facebook or something.
I hope.
So thank you. In wrapping up, I just want to, ask you, do you have a favorite quote or book or recipe or meal you want to share with us?
My favorite meal would be pita jungle.
I love pita jungle. I think I told you I'm from Arizona. I graduated from ASU. Yeah, I love pita jungle.
So good. So that's, sadly, I don't get to cook very much anymore. And, with my son, he's pretty easygoing. He is on first name basis with the Pizza Hut guy. But my favorite recent book is I read Rework by Jason Fried, which I thought was really interesting because I've read all the different startup books, but I really liked, it's a little bit of a different view. So that was one of my favorite recent books. My favorite app is Waze. I love it. We just recently drove for, I think in total, 5,000 miles up and down the West Coast. And that got us out of so many jams, especially big places around, San Francisco or whatever, as far as taking the wrong road, this whole crowdsourcing of traffic information.
Right.
Brilliant. So very cool app. And my favorite quote is from Margaret Thatcher, which is if you want something said, ask a man. If you want something done, ask a woman. And if my husband sees this video, he'll just be shaking his head at that quote, but that's okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I'm just going to wrap up by, obviously, this has been an awesome interview. I hope our listeners and viewers get a lot out of this. So I appreciate you being candid. This is exactly the type of interview I always strive for, where you give some good advice and some steps, and you're open that there's struggles in between. It's not just a cakewalk. So thank you.
There's no glamour in all.
Yeah. And for those of you who enjoyed this, or you have any questions or would like to see somebody in particular being interviewed, go ahead and email me at Rachel, R-A-C-H-E-L, at bestmomproducts.com. And I would love a positive iTunes rating from you. So, Mary, thank you for being here. And if people want to reach you, what's the best way to contact you?
The best way is to go to our website at TrakLight, no C, and so TrakLight.com, or you can send me an email, MEJUETTEN at TrakLight.com.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks for being here, Mary.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.